Hey guys, we are working on chapter 17 today, respectful interaction with the older adult. Some good news. This is the last chapter in the book, Health Professional and Patient Interaction. We will be moving forward over into chronic pain and then medical law and ethics coming up. I don't anticipate this chapter taking too long, although I've said that before. You just never know with me because I start talking. All right, so understand objectives. Understand the views and theories on aging, describe elder abuse, learn about threats to the self-image, and explain the physical and mental changes. So the book says the old is determined by presence or absence of sickness, disability, or other factors other than just being an age. So if we think about old, there's three stages. There's the young old, the middle old, and the old old. So the young old is 65 to 75, the middle old is 75 to 85, and the old old is 85 plus. And aging is a highly individualized process that affects each person in unique ways. Aging is the result of the interaction among genetics, environmental influences, lifestyles, and the effects of a disease process. So there are some views on aging. There's really a reminder of mortality, that death is more common in older than younger people, and it's seen as expected or natural. Sometimes they haven't accepted it yet, which can be difficult. There's underprivileged. They are really an underprivileged citizen. We live in a youth-oriented society, why they provide senior discounts and special senior citizens, and this is because of those shortcomings for that older adult. Aging is a clinical identity. It's treated differently just because sometimes you're treated differently just because you're older. One example here can be breast conserving procedures offered to more younger women than older, just because you're an older patient and they don't want you to go through it. I mean, there's other reasons. That's just a really minor example, but there could be other reasons for that. But just as an example. And older people are really a cultural treasure. They have way more experience and way more wisdom than we can imagine. I really enjoyed working with my older patients because they can give me a lot of deep information that I wouldn't have gotten from others. There are some theories on aging. I am not requiring you to memorize these, but you should know that there are different theories that people look at. So there's an Erickson theory. This stage begins when the individual experiences this sense of mortality. A disengagement theory where aging is sort of inevitable, and there's that start to withdraw or disengage from society. There's a lifespan theory. I couldn't find really a lot on this theory, but with compensation as a strategy for improving health and well-being in older adults, it is recommended that seniors select and optimize their best abilities and most intact functions while compensating for declines and losses. I haven't seen that anywhere else. I had to look that up, and I don't really even like that description, honestly. There's also a successful aging theory. This refers to a physical and mental social well-being in the older adult, and maintenance as far and as long as possible for the activities and attitudes that they're forthcoming. All right, so there are friendships and family ties that go along. Your family and friends are so important throughout your entire life. And really, to meet that physical contact, it can be hard. And many people who depend on a lifelong friendships have trouble making friends when you get to 70 or 80 years old. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's harder for a 70 or 80-year-old to make friends? For me, it would probably be because I'm stubborn, but it's harder for them to get out. It's harder for them to do things. It's not as easy for them to stay up late. Or, things are different when you're older. It's not as easy for you to move around. Family members provide most of the care for their older relatives. I know that's true for my family. For the longest time, we took care of my pop-pop. He is now in a nursing home, which takes care of a lot of his needs. But we still are there, not currently because COVID, but we are still there often to take care of him and pick up the things he needs, the clothes that he needs. it can be challenging. There are types of friendships that they talk about in this book, and there are some fusion friendships, fused to or an integral part of other roles, like involving family or occupation. Fusion or complementary may not be lost at others, but depending on the type of relationship, depends on where it's going to go. But you can read over these. I'm not going to kind of go into all of them for you. You can do that. There is elder abuse. I am sure that we've talked about this before. There are several types. There are rights violations, material abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect and abandonment. You are responsible for reporting abuse. You would report it to the PA Department of Aging. That's 1-800-490-8505. Do you remember where you report child abuse? That would be the child line. I'm not going to read the number. The number's not really important. But to report elder abuse, it would be the PA Department of Aging. Elder abuse can really happen anywhere, either in the home, at a nursing home, in a hospital. There are many different places where that could go on. Your, quote, home, these are some interesting facts for you. There are some determining factors depending on what you call home. Are there physical challenges for the family? My pop-pop was having trouble getting up the steps and his dementia was a problem. We had to move him back from Bethlehem, PA to Harrisburg, PA because the proximity was too hard for us. The income we had to take a look into, and any transportation access. Those are all things we have to think about. 52% of the nursing home residents are aged 85 plus. 35% are 75 to 84, and 13% of the residents are aged 65 to 74. The changes in residents can cause, I want to say, ruffle their feathers. It can be difficult. Depending on where you're going, you might lose a lot of your autonomy or that independence that you've had. Especially in a long-term facility, my pop-up can't leave. He can't go where he wants to go. He can't go to baseball games on his own because he can't drive. But you can help them adapt. You can't change the situation. You can't change what happened, but you can help them adapt to their new surroundings. Bring things that are familiar to them. So for my pop-up, we took a lot of things from his room that were important. His desk was sort of his central station. He had his desk calendar, his Post-its, his tissues, his pens, everything that he liked in there. That's what he used. And think about what they're going through. They've had their independence. They move into their daughter's home. They go into the hospital for surgery, and then they go into a nursing home or rehab afterwards. That's a huge change for them, especially in their independence. How would you feel? That would be challenging. They start to see some threats to their self-image as well. Their physical changes, hearing, vision, they start slowing down. They're not moving as fast. They retire. They need to replace that sometimes. There's a feeling of you needing to be needed at the job. Like the job needs you to come work and you are useful, and you sort of lose that. Some can do a hobby, another job, volunteer. Some can't do so much of that because they just either they don't have the physical or mental capacity to do it. They're shy, they can't drive, or there's some safety concerns. So there are some threats to how they're going to feel. Some physical changes: reduced strength and endurance, joint problems. There are some safety issues like your balance or your gait. There are cognitive issues, which you know as decreased memory, attention, general decline in intelligence. The exercise can be a positive thing for them, although it can be difficult. Regular activity can reverse the decreased mobility that contributes to disease and disability in old age, so that's important. And self-efficiency. you will gain more confidence the more that you do, really. There are some mental changes as well. A set schedule equals security. That is for me as well. I love a schedule. My son loves a schedule. And I just like when everything is following what it needs to be. In institutions, it is easy to lose track of time and day and the date, which is sort of funny that we're talking about this because I have absolutely lost track of the time of day. Maybe not necessarily the time of day, but the day of the week since I've been home working. And it's easy. I can see how it's easy to lose track. When you go to work, you go to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You are off Saturday, Sunday. Go to work Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. You have this set routine. And when you lose it and you're not going into this place 5 days a week, you start to not understand where you're going. If possible, treatment can be given at the same time of day. That's that consistency, that set schedule that's important for them. Make sure that you're still trying to make your treatments interesting. You don't want to do marches, overhead presses. That's boring. That's going to get boring for them. They're not going to want to participate. It's just as important to have your patients interested and ready to go on when they're older as it is for your 5-year-olds. Make sure that as a healthcare professional, you are looking at other things, not just because they're old. So confusion and disorientation can be caused by infection, electrolyte imbalance, CVA, and a TIA. So you understand those other options. It's important to know that confusion can be caused by other things, not just, quote, being old. So recognize that infection, electrolyte imbalance, CVA, and TIA are other reasons that can cause confusion and disorientation. If you find that your patient is having some acute confusion, correct them gently, unless they're being violent. Don't be condescending. Don't go, I told you that, Bill. We did this before. No, just explain it to them appropriately. Some can have difficulty in remembering how to do certain tasks, so you might have to remind them over and over and over again. That's okay. They will appreciate you being patient and keeping it short and keeping your descriptions as easily to understand as possible. Do not assume because their age they are confused or hard of hearing. Just take each patient as they are. So this last slide, assessing a patient's value system. Self-respect is going to be more concisely prized for older people. They perceive that they are subject to a loss of self-respect in an ageist society, and we are. But they deserve just as much self-respect. They worry about their security, both financial and physical. Am I going to be okay financially to get into a nursing home? Which, if you understood the cost of a nursing home, it's astronomical. But also physically, am I going to be okay physically? How long am I going to keep my independence? When activities were once easy, now they're hard. Again, these patients are going to assess their values over and over and over again. And listening is a key feature for us to do. And we've talked about getting the patient's story, and we talked about treating the patient like everyone else would like to be treated. But really, these interactions with your older adults are ideal and prized. So make sure that you are really taking the time with your older patients to get to know them and understand them. And I think that you will make out much better. Guys, thank you so much for chatting. Again, the next few chapters we're going to be doing are going into, it was a chronic pain book that I have. You guys were not required to get the book. So everything will be under the PowerPoints and my descriptions. So make sure that you are listening to the videos. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks, guys. Bye.